Hi everyone, it's good to be back with you again. So on this video and probably for the next few videos that I'm gonna put up, I wanna talk about three W's. There are three questions, but they all start with a W. And I'm not talking about www like World Wide Web. Actually, I'm talking more like a question that I believe we ought to ask ourselves. And I'm gonna be spending the next few weeks while I post these videos to kind of share my perspective on this question, the things that I've learned, how I view these questions, and how they guide me in my daily walk, in my daily life, in trying to achieve the things God has called me to do. So the three W's are: who are you? Number two is, why are you here? And number three is, where are you going? These are the three basic questions that I had to ask myself years ago. And I still ask myself every day up until now, just to kind of know, am I still who I said I was? Am I still on purpose, like knowing why I'm actually here? Am I still doing the right things? And also, where am I going? Am I still on target, or am I still on course? So the first question is, who are you? Who are you? And that's a question of identity. We live in a world today where identity is key. Identity is key. Everybody's trying to belong somewhere, belong to something. We all want to have something that we identify with. You know, we all want to be a part of something. Much of life is based on how you see yourself. Much of life is based on your perception of yourself. I mean, I'm talking about when you look at the mirror, what do you see? Who are you? Who are you? You know, and which is why I'm talking about this first, because you're gonna struggle with understanding the why you're here question if you don't truly understand the who you are. These questions are all connected. This is a question that I had to ask myself. I remember one day, and I was walking home, and I saw a guy walk past me. He was wearing a t-shirt, and on the t-shirt there was a quote on the back of the t-shirt. It said, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken." Be yourself, everyone else is taken. As I read that, just in passing, right, you know, the guy walked past me, and I just looked over my shoulder. I'm like, oh. Then I was thinking about that. I was contemplating that. I was just kind of ruminating on that and said, be myself, everyone else is taken. But you know what, we live in a world where everyone wants to be like somebody. You want to be like that person, that celebrity, that role model. You want to be like somebody. And in the midst of trying to be like someone else, we lose ourselves. We lose who we are. And because we don't truly know who we are in the first place, it's very easy. It's a lot easier to want to be somebody else because you don't really know who you are. It's a lot easier to try you just want to belong somewhere. You just want to find something that you can identify with. It's a lot easier than truly saying, I want to get to know me. You know, there's nothing wrong with learning from other people. I didn't get here by, just by supernatural powers. I had to learn from other people. There's nothing wrong with learning from somebody doing something well, or they're living by a principle, or there's something they do differently that you're trying to learn. How do they do that? There's nothing wrong with learning from people. But what I tell people is, while you're learning from others, don't lose your originality. Don't lose who you are in your quest of just trying to learn from everybody else. Because what you're going to end up with is just a piece of everybody and nothing of you. If you're not careful, you will be living everybody else's lives, but not truly your life. Which is why I said, much of life is all about how we see ourselves, who we really think we are. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is it. As you think in your heart, so are you. Life is all about how do you see yourself? Do you even know you? So when you stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself, do you know that person? One of the first things that actually shape someone's perspective on who they are is their parents. A baby is born into this world, and the parents have the honor to raise that kid. And most of the time, our sense of identity or our sense of belonging or just even getting a sense of who we are comes from our parent. So our parents probably told us some things about who they think we are. Some of them probably was right. Some of them were probably way wrong. They were just out. They're not even close to who we are. And some of them, they were just absent. They were just passive. So some people grew up not really having anybody to tell them or to affirm them or to really speak into them or to really shape their perspective of themselves. Or some people actually grew up in an abusive home where somebody keep telling them you're a failure, you're a loser, nobody would ever want you. And they they grew up to becoming those things that they heard when they were growing up. And some people, they grew up with their parents telling them all the good stuff. But then they grow up to realize that this is not truly me. The parent told them all the good stuff. They weren't abusive. They told them all the positive stuff. They're trying to shift them the direction they were going. And then they grow up to realize that this is not even me. I don't even like this. I know some parents try to tell their kids what to do with their life, what to study, where to go, who to marry and all that. And you realize that you've lived your life just based on your parents' perspective. And you're trying to marry the two. And you're like, this is not me. So we have that parental factor who shaped our belief of who we think we are. And I remember I said in one of my videos that nobody truly knows you like God knows you, your parents included. They might have an idea, they might study you and have some inclination and think, oh yeah, he's going to be good at this, he's going to be good at that. But trust me, they don't have 100% knowledge of who you are. Because guess what? They are only stewards. They didn't make you. They didn't create you. God created you. He allowed you to come through your parent. You're a gift. That's what the Bible said. Children are a gift from God. You're a gift from God to your parent. So their job was to help raise you. So they don't truly own you. They didn't create you. So which is why no matter what they said, you want to know that they don't truly know you. God knows all about you. And so maybe you got your identity from your parent. Like I said, it could have been good, it could have been bad, and it could have just been your parents were not there. Some people were, they grew up in foster homes, or some people grew up without their parents, or they lost their parents. So it could have been either of those three categories. But what I'm trying to pass across is our perspective on life is shaped based on the perspective that we have of ourselves. It's how you see yourself. It's how do you truly see yourself? Who do you think you are? Do you even know the you? Like I said, it's easy to try to keep up with the Joneses and just be like everybody else, doing everything everybody else is doing. But in the midst of that, there will be some kind of emptiness in you that this is not me. At the end of that journey of just trying to be like everybody, do what everybody is doing, you will be empty. You'll be like, what is all this about? This is not me. Perhaps you just need to get back to your place to truly ask God and to truly get to the bottom of it. Who am I? So parents are the number one. The other one is our society, our community, people around us. They say some nice things about us. Some people around you, they probably are told you, oh, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. You have people around you that have told you, oh yeah, you're not good enough or blah, blah, blah. Maybe you have a boss at work that's very abusive or someone that just always want to downgrade you. So because you've lived in that kind of situation for a long time, you are starting to believe what they've said about you. So maybe you're in an abusive relationship where the other part, where your partner or your spouse was just saying something that made you feel unwanted, unworthy, and just made you feel, and you've heard this for so long that it's now become a part of you, and you've accepted it to be the true definition of who you are. So our society as well, our people, the people we surround ourselves with, they play a part in trying to give us that identity, in trying to determine who we are. And if we're not careful, we'll buy into that lie and we'll live the rest of our lives based on other people's opinion of us. I have so many examples in the Bible that I can share, but one of them that I love so much is John the Baptist. John the Baptist was the forerunner before Jesus Christ. He was the one that came before Jesus Christ. He was the one preaching repentance. He was the one the Bible says he prepared the way for Jesus' arrival. He was the one that was sent forth ahead of Jesus. And because when John the Baptist set out to do what he was doing, there was nobody doing such things. So people were actually thinking John the Baptist was the Messiah. They were thinking John the Baptist actually the Savior they've been waiting for. So people were calling John the Baptist, hey, you are the Christ, you are this. John the Baptist was saying, no, I'm not the Christ. I'm not the Christ. John the Baptist was saying, no, I'm not the Christ. John the Baptist was so sure of who he was that he said that, I'm the voice of the one crying in the wilderness, saying, this is, prepare ye the way of the Lord. He said, I'm not the one. He said, the one that will come after me, I'm not even worthy to lose the straps of his sandals. He said, John the Baptist said, I'm not the one. Imagine, these people were saying good stuff to John the Baptist, telling him, oh, you're the Messiah, you're the King, you are our Savior, you're the one we've been waiting for. But John the Baptist knew who he was. He was able to deflect those and said, that's not me. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm not Jesus. I just came to prepare the way for him. To the point that even when Jesus finally came and Jesus was doing miracles and healing the sick and doing all that, people went to John the Baptist and said, do you know that man you talked about? He's over there healing people and everybody's going towards him. Everybody's going over to him. John said, yeah, that's fine. He said, I will decrease that he may increase. John the Baptist knew who he was. He wasn't trying to be like Jesus. He wasn't trying to walk Jesus, trying to walk the walk of Jesus. He was just doing his assignment. He was operating from a place of, I know who I am in God. I know who I am. I'm not confused about it. And because he know who he is, he said, I'm the voice. That helped him to know the why he was here. And I'm going to talk about the why later on in my next video. I'm going to focus on that. But on this video, I want to talk about knowing who you are. Who are you? Are you living out of what your parent told you based on their assessment of you? Or are you living from a place of what people have told you? The society, the community, the people around us, they've said you're this and that, and you begin to believe them. And maybe they're not even what God has said about you. Because these things can be good stuff. They could be telling you good stuff. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't have to always be negative and always be, some kind of bad stuff they said or they're trying to know. It could be good stuff. It just might not be a reflection of who you truly are. Much of life, like I said earlier, is actually perspective. It's how we see ourselves. The third category that I think affects and shapes our identity is events of life. Events of life. Perhaps you'll be like me. I've failed so many times. I remember trying to do my driving test. I failed my driving test so many times, to the point that I started to believe that I was a failure. It began to get into me so much that it would start to affect my performance in every other area of life. I started to believe that I'm a failure. I started to believe that I was a failure because I was doing this and I wasn't able to pass. So it's very, very easy to buy into that lie of allowing the events of life to give us an identity. The fact that I failed at an event doesn't make me a failure. That's not who I am. That's just what happened. Failure is an event. It happened. It doesn't mean if I try again, I won't succeed. Today, I have a driver's license. Today, I drive legally. So what that tells me is failure is just an event. But maybe perhaps you failed so many times that you've now bought into the lie that I'm a failure. And now your perspective is shaped so by saying that I'm a failure. You're operating from a place of I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm never going to be like everybody. Everybody is going to be, they're going to make it in life. They're going to do great things, but I'm just a failure. Is that you? Another example in the Bible is the children of Israel. When Moses sent some spies to go look out the land, to go check out the land of Canaan that God had promised them, saying, I'm going to give you this land. I'm taking you to a promise, not to a promised land. I'm taking you to a land full of milk and honey, a land where you will not have to work for anything. God had given them these amazing promises. So Moses sent some people as spies to go into that land to go check it out. When they got into the land, everything that God said about that land was exactly the way God said it. They met it. Everything was right. Everything was on point. This was a great place. But guess what? They came back with this report. They told Moses and the assembly of Israel. They said, yes, there were giants in the land. They said, yeah, we saw the grapes, we saw the fruit of the land. They were big. We saw all these good things, but there were giants there. And they made a statement. They said, but we are like grasshoppers in our eyes, and so are we in their eyes. They saw themselves as grasshoppers, so the enemy saw them as grasshoppers too. Even though God had told them who they are, even though they serve the living God, even though they know, even though they should know, I should say, they should know that the God is on the throne, is the God, is the one that will fight the giants for them. But they said that these people saw us as grasshoppers because we first saw ourselves as grasshoppers. It tells me that they were coming from a place of slavery. They've been in slavery, they've been tormented by the Egyptians, that even when they saw the goodness of God, they still went back to that slavery mentality. Or that we're not good enough for this is still good for us. We're not good enough to take this land. We're not good enough to have all this good stuff, We're not good enough. Life has shaped their mentality. It shaped their perspective on themselves. That even when they saw something that was so good, something that God had promised, something that God has brought their way, they turned it away because they felt they're not good enough for it. They felt like we're just grasshoppers. We're nobody. We're nothing. We don't deserve any better. Let's just go back to where we used to come from. The same thing happened when Moses was trying to lead them out of Egypt. And anytime they encounter a problem in the wilderness, they will always say to Moses, it was better when we were in Egypt. Why did you bring us into this desert to come and die? It was better when we were in Egypt. They were so used to slavery. They were so used to failure. They were so used to all these events of life that now when they were about to taste the goodness of God and really be able to get all that God has promised, they disqualify themselves because of how they see themselves. So, what are you allowing to shape your perspective of yourself? Is it what your parent told you? Is it what people around you have said to you? Is it the failures and the events of life that has shaped your perspective on who you are? But I can guarantee you, none of those three should determine or should label you or should give you your identity. God alone knows who you are. He created you for a purpose. He created you. He had a plan in mind. And you know what? He knows you better than everybody else does. So contrary to what anybody has said to you, God knows best. So why don't you talk to him? So that's your identity that I just touched on. The other part I want to touch on today is your character. Your character. Who you are when nobody else is looking. Who you are, who you go to bed with every night, that person you go to bed with. And I'm not talking about your spouse. I'm talking about you, the person you go to bed with, the person you lay your bed on a pillow at night. Who you are when nobody is looking, when the lights are off, when everything else is off, when nobody is zooming on you. Your character. Your character will determine how far you go in life. You can be the most gifted person. You can be the most talented person. But if you don't have a good character, your gift will take you to places where your character cannot sustain you. Your gift can take you to the places where your character cannot sustain you. And that's why you have so many people rise to the place of power and they mess up. And you just see like, wow, how can this person be so gifted? Yes, be struggling with this. Yet be this and that. Is because their gift is taking them to a place where the character cannot keep them. Character is like a smoke. Somebody said you cannot cover it. Have you tried to cover a smoke? It would escape. There's no way it would not escape. So which means to me that even when even when you're known for this and that, you're the best doctor, you're the best engineer and all that stuff, character will reveal to people who you truly are. God has blessed me so much. I've been privileged to be in some places and to work with some people musically and all that stuff. And I keep saying to myself, behind all this, even when I'm done with all these things that I'm committed to, I ask myself, who are you? What do I do when nobody is looking? Like right now, you're watching my video. You like, most of you like my video. You share with your friends. But the question I keep asking myself, who is this guy behind the camera? Am I still nice to people outside, or is it because now I'm a popular pianist on YouTube now? I don't have character anymore. I'm not nice. Now my head is going crazy. Character. Who are you? Who are you when nobody's looking? Will you do the same thing the same way when your world is watching and when no one is watching? That's how you know who you are. When the lights are on you, how do you act? And when the light is off, that's how you know who you are. There was a story I heard a long time ago. There was this pastor. There was an accident. This pastor ran to the scene, and the pastor prayed for this man who was dead through the accident, and the man came back to life. And a few minutes later, the pastor had finished praying, everything is done, and the pastor went home. And then the news people, they came and they want to get on the news that this is a miracle. Somebody was totally dead, and this man prayed and he came back to life. So they went to see the pastor. Said, the pastor, he said, we heard that you prayed for somebody who was dead earlier from the car accident, and we were not able there to capture it on the camera. We would like to invite you back to just kind of do the same thing, to stage it so we can record it, so we can hear it on our news. The pastor said to them, he said, I have prayed and I will not pose. Because what they're telling them, come and pose for the camera, come and do it again so that we can get it on the TV. How many of us we have the character enough to say, I don't have to be on TV. I prayed because I needed to pray. I prayed because I saw life in danger. So I did what I needed to do. I don't need to be seen for it. Character. Who are you behind everything you do? Thank God you're a successful business person. Thank God you're a successful, you have a successful career. You have a successful prospect. Thank God for all these things. But when all is said and done, who are you behind those things? When you leave the office, who are you? When you're alone in another city, who are you? When nobody else can see you, when you're not in the eyes of the people that know you, that can hold you accountable, who are you? Your character. And that's why I tell people, allow your character to form so well that no matter how high you go, it can sustain you. I prayed, I said, God, don't elevate me above my character. I don't want to get to a place where I don't have the character, because the character, somebody said character is the infrastructure that houses your gift. The character is like the building that houses your gift. So who are you when all the lights are out? Who are you when nobody is looking? Who are you when nobody is watching? So today on this video, what I'm challenging you to do is to look at the mirror. What do you see? Who do you think you are? Have you taken your cues from your parent? Taking your cues from people who have said you're this and you're that? Or have you taken your cues from the events of life? Either you failed at one point or the other. And also the question of who are you? What is your character like? If God blessed you today and you are the wealthiest person in the world, would it change who you are? Would you still be nice to people around you? Would you still smile? Would you still help somebody out in need? Would you still be nice to your neighbors? Character. Who you are when no one is looking. So this week I challenge you. Get some time away from the crowd, away from the noise, and ask yourself, who am I? In the midst of all this accomplishment, in the midst of all these good things that people are saying about me, in the midst of all these great and wonderful things that my parents or everybody is telling me, who am I? And no one better can answer that question apart from God. You can't discover the who without Him. He made you. So ask Him. Make sure you share this video and leave me a comment. Until I see you next time, stay blessed. Bye for now.